Hi, and welcome to Hospitality Today. I am Marlene Knutse. This is Chapter 1 Service Makes the Difference. After this lesson, you should be able to understand what service is, the importance of strategic planning, and the strategic planning process. You should be able to understand what superior service is and the importance of providing superior service, the vision of companies and some hotels, and how to deliver goods. If I have to ask you to define service in your own words, what would that be? So the textbook defines service as work done for others. How long do you think a guest should wait when they sit down in a restaurant? The answer is they should not wait whatsoever. Think about a guest driving up the driveway to a hotel, and they are met by a concierge or a valet parker. They open the door and they are met by a great big smile. Immediately the guest feels welcomed. They feel important. That is the kind of standards that we want to provide to a guest. We want to meet the guest's needs. We want to meet and exceed their expectations. Remember that a guest have expectations when they arrive at a hotel. We want to let them leave there with lasting impressions. So whose expectations count? Remember that you, as the staff member, are very important, but it's the guest expectations that count. So it's all about satisfying their needs. At the end of this chapter, we will talk about Disney and their priorities. So we'll talk about Disney a little bit later. On the next slide, I want to show you a video clip about a girl that works at a fast food joint. I want you to point out all the mistakes that she makes. I also want you to have a look at her whole persona, her dress code, and the way that she speaks to the guest. She does a lot of things wrong, and see if you will actually return back to that burger joint if you were the guest. So what was your impression? Would you go back to that if you were the guest? I don't think so. Firstly, the way that she spoke to the guests was very unprofessional. Um, the way that she looked was very unprofessional. She had extremely long nails, her earrings, her makeup, her accent, everything was unprofessional. So obviously she wasn't trained, or she honestly just didn't care whether the guests returned or not. She just didn't have any passion about where she worked. So think about that for a moment when you ever have to deal with a guest. So the next thing that we need to talk about is the challenges that we might face in our business. So yes, if you have to compare our business with a manufacturing business, the thing that's different with our business and other businesses is our product. Our business, our product that we provide is intangible. What does intangible mean? Intangible means that we can't touch something. So our product is, we provide services like comfort, we provide security, we provide positive experiences. We can't touch that. Where another business offers or provides things that guests can physically touch. They can smell it, they can see it. So with that said, the way that we offer our product, we can actually face a number of challenges. So on page 7, I need you to know and understand and be able to explain these 7 points. We can actually ask them as a longer question. So point 1 is the nature of the product is different. As I mentioned in the previous clip, in the previous slide, we offer intangible products like comfort, security, and positive experiences. So that's what makes our product so different. The next point is that customers are involved in our production process. In other companies or other businesses, customers aren't involved in the production process. They just receive the product at the end. Where with us, for example, in a salad bar, at a buffet, let's take, for example, there is a Caesar salad and all the amenities is on the salad bar. The guest comes up and assembles the salad themselves. So they take the cos lettuce, the croutons, and all the different amenities, and they assemble the salad themselves. That's how the customer is involved in the whole production process. The next part is people are part of the product. Think about all the people that's part of our product, all the staff. There's so many staff involved in the product that we are providing. The next point, it's hard to maintain quality control standards. We can only control quality once the guest has actually experienced it. So you can't test, evaluate it whilst it's going to the guest always. It's very, very difficult. The guest can only say they are happy with something or unhappy with something once they actually received it. The next one, services cannot be inventoried. Inventory means to take stock. You can't count comfort. You can't count security. You can count tin goods or actual physical product. Because our product is intangible, you can't count it. The next one is time factor is more important. As I said, time is a very important and very imperative thing in our industry. A guest doesn't want to wait in a line to get registered or to check in. They want speed of service. So time is very, very important in our industry. And then distribution channels are different. If you think about the different departments in our industry, there's so many departments that provides a service to one guest. Housekeeping, the room for the guest. The food and beverage department provides a meal to the guest. The front office department checks in the guest. That's where the different channels are different. So this is a very important question for tests and exams. So the next point is achieving superior service in a less than perfect world. Why do I say this? It's because of the human factor. Because we are working with so many people in this industry, remember that human error can come into play. I do believe that your staff is only as good as the manager is. So it's very important that your top level managers and your supervisors are actually very competent. Because if they are not competent and they are not positive, then the production staff will not be either. So they have to be positive. They have to be thinking ahead, planning ahead, and communicate with their staff in order to actually survive. So it is very important that the top level managers knows exactly what they want to do and how they intend to get there, and communicate that with the staff below them in order to achieve the goal that they are setting out for their business or their company. So with regards to strategic planning, whenever you start a business or a new company, you have to start it with a business plan. Now, a business plan has an objective and a mission. Now, an objective is also known as a goal. A goal is known as something that you are working towards to. It basically tells you what you want to do, how you want to do it, and how you intend to get there. So the business need to set objectives for themselves. Okay, and it's normally found in the vision or the mission statement. So a lot of hotels, my favorites are Hilton, Marriott, and Sheraton. It's basically a promise that they make to their guests, and everything that they do towards the mission. So the Sheraton, for example, if you go onto YouTube or Google or the internet, and you look at what they basically say about their guests or what their slogan says, it says that we belong. So they basically strive to make their guests feel at home. They want their guests to feel like they are in their second home when they visit their properties. And how do they do that? They do that by introducing something called the Sweet Sleeper mattress. Their beds are extremely comfortable. I had the privilege of working at the Sheraton for many years, and I have to say that they actually live by that promise. Their guests always return because they do actually make their guests feel at home. So for homework, I do want you to go and do a little bit of research on properties that you are familiar with or that you actually like to work at one day, and see what their mission statement is or their vision is, and promise that they deliver to their guests. So this is very, very important, guys. On page 12, this is a very popular long question, the strategic planning process. Now, the strategic planning process can only take place after a mission statement has been established. Because remember now, the mission statement is almost like the basis of what you want your business to be like. Okay, so the first step of this process is to perform a SWOT analysis. Now, those of you that's done business management would probably know what I'm talking about. So SWOT analysis means to find out what is your strength. So your strengths could be something like maybe you have you've bought an existing company or an existing hotel, or you have equipment, top of the range equipment. You have things that's already available to you. That could be strengths, or you have money or something like that. That's strengths. Weaknesses could be something that put you in some form of disadvantage. But just remember that a weakness, you always have to work on a weakness to become a strength. Otherwise, it will pull you down. An opportunity is something that you need to grab to work to your advantage. If you think back to when the FIFA World Cup were hosted in South Africa, that was a big opportunity for the lodging industry. For instance, a lot of travelers came to South Africa, so the hospitality industry was booming for a while because they had to accommodate a lot of travelers, a lot of people coming to watch FIFA, the World Cup. Then threats is always the competition. You always need to stay one step ahead of your competition. What are they doing? What are they doing differently? How do they succeed? So your threats is somebody or something that's always better than you. So you need to find out what is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Then you need to examine your internal and external environment. Your internal environment is within your company. Your staff, your equipment, your resources, things like that within your reach. Your external environment is things beyond your reach. So it's things that you don't have control over and you have to probably adapt to. So that could be the economy, so your economic situation out there, political things, those kind of things. You have no control over that. You just have to adapt to it. Then the next step in the process would be to formulate strategies. Now, another word for strategy is a plan. So what are we going to do? So formulate those plans. Now, all those plans that you are going to formulate needs to be appealing to your market segment. Now, your market segment is obviously your target market, your guests. Who is my guests? What is their age? What is their preference? You need to find out everything you can about your market segment. What do they like? What don't they like? Because if you don't know anything about them, you can't have a product that attracts them. So you need to formulate strategies that is appealing to your market segment. The third step is to take those plans and those strategies that you formulated and you need to put them in working. So you need to implement those strategies. Now, remember what I said with your top level management and their competencies. That's where your leadership comes into play. I do believe that good leadership is not given to a person. So leadership is very, very important. So staff will only follow a good leader if it feels good to them. So they need to communicate this to their staff. They need to motivate their staff. It is very, very important. Part of that is the organizational structure. You have to employ people and put them in positions that is suitable with their skills and their experience. They can't do a job that they are not qualified to do. Otherwise, those strategies and that work won't be done correctly. And then the next thing is your corporate culture. Your staff have to be very, very happy. Okay, it needs to feel good to them to do what they are supposed to do. And I'm not talking about just money. Money doesn't just make people happy. You need to provide them with rewards. You need to provide them benefits. A thank you now and again goes a long way. Well done goes a long way. So your corporate culture, and also when you employ people, they need to fit into the corporate culture, the right attitude, the right personality. So you need to go a long way to actually find the right people and employ the right people in your business. And then the last part is to monitor and evaluate results. Obviously, when you implement these plans and you implement these strategies, you can't just let it be. You need to actually find out if it actually is working. And how do you find this out? From the horse's mouth. And who is this horse I'm referring to? It's the guest. So you can only find this out, but if it's working, by asking them if they experienced, if they were happy, if they had a positive experience, how did they enjoy their stay. So yes, you can use comment cards. I think this is just a bit old, an older way of how they use it. Thank goodness for technology. Today we send surveys electronically to ask guests how they've experienced their stay, how did they enjoy the food, the rooms, where do they think we can do better, and those kind of things. But you can also pick up the phone and ask them. So there's many ways that we can contact the guest and find out where the hotel or the restaurant can actually improve. Remember that feedback is not only negative feedback, it's positive feedback as well. If they can give gratitude to a specific staff member, that's also a good way of providing a reward to a staff member. Good. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about challenges. Now, I want you to know that we are a capacity constrained business. And what do I mean with capacity constrained? Now, for example, you have a restaurant and they can seat 50 people. This restaurant is capacity constrained. They can only seat 50 people. Okay, so it means they are capacity constrained. So what I want you to understand is that a company or a hotel or a restaurant's financial success depends on how efficiently they actually match their productive capacity. Meaning, if you can't have too many staff working for you, you can't buy too much equipment and resources, otherwise you will run in losses. Okay, so you have to match your productivity capacity. So when you have not in when you don't have enough customers, you obviously won't have an oversupply of workers because you're going to have to pay too much in their salary, if you understand what I mean. So therefore you must constantly manage supply and demand. That's what I mean with capacity constrained business. So there's two terms that you have to know with regards to managing supply. The first one is level capacity strategy. It means that you have to offer the same amount of capacity no matter how high the demand. Okay, so it means it stays the same. It doesn't matter how high or how low. The next one is the chased demand strategy. That means that capacity can be varied to suit the demand level in a limited way. Let's take December, for instance. December is wedding season. So a lot of weddings takes place, and weddings needs ballrooms. So you have your permanent staff, for instance, but those waiters can't work double shifts. You have to employ part-time staff. So you are varying the demand level in a limited way. So you are getting your part-time staff when your demand is high, if that makes sense. So hotels and restaurants capacity is limited. So how you manage demand means that the goal of a manager is to shift demand from periods when it cannot be accommodated to periods when it actually can be. This means like you need to encourage businesses when business is slow. For instance, we all have worked, those of us that's worked in the industry, There's times in the year when it is extremely quiet, but we still need to pay the bills. We still need to pay salaries of our permanent staff. But if we are not busy, where does the money come in? So that's when a lot of restaurants and hotels offers early bird specials, happy hours, those buy one get one free things. People or customers actually think they buy a deal, but they don't. The hotels and restaurants actually do make a profit. So that's how you manage demand. You still make that little bit of extra money. Well, I won't say it's little bit, you still make that extra amount of money. Okay, so the strategic service vision. Now, we spoke about a market segment. So a market segment is obviously your target market. Now, when you offer goods or when you offer a service, you need to obviously, these products needs to be specific to what they want. So you need to know exactly who your market is, and you need to design or formulate this product in order for your market to come to your business. So let's take McDonald's, for instance. Who is their market? So students always tell me it's students. Yes, you're very right. Why do students go to McDonald's? Their service is quick, very correct. They have a drive-through. They're not that expensive because students obviously don't have money. Correct. But the other market, and a very big market, is families. So what do they do? What product do they offer for families? Why is families their target market? They have the Happy Meal. So the Happy Meal comes in a very cute box, and included in the Happy Meal is a toy. And I have to say those toys are quite cute. And they also have a playground, and they also have the clown Ronald McDonald. So there's a lot of things that they have done to make it intriguing for their target market. Something that you also have to remember if you open a business is where you open your business, you have to have a look at your local market. So take a look at where you are located, who is around you, and you also need to attract them. So you have to attract your local market as well. Focus on a service strategy. Also look at their expectations. Remember that a guest will only come back if your service and your product is consistent. They know what they are going to get. It always tastes the same. It always looks the same. That means it is consistent. A guest always comes back because of consistency. Right, so the next thing is service standards. Um, Hotels or all properties have specific service standards. The thing that you need to remember or know with regards to service standards is that training is very, very important. Your staff has to be trained according to these standards. So there has to be constant training programs, and they need to be updated regularly. Your staff can't be just trained once. They need to be refreshed on a constant basis. For instance, how to approach a customer. How do they address a customer? Do they call them by their surname? You know, those kind of things. They have to be trained how to communicate to a guest. Job restructuring means to change the nature of the work or the way that the work is done. You can't do the same thing every single day for the next 10 years. There is different, easier, smarter ways of doing your job. Otherwise, staff will get bored. You know, they have to work smarter. There is easier way to do their job. And then with regards to payroll control, Too much employees obviously won't be profitable. So it's very important for an organization to control their labor costs. They can't have 20 waiters for 10 tables. You know, it's ridiculous. You can have 5 waiters for 10 tables and train them to work 2 tables each. So you have to control your labor costs. So employee training and careful scheduling is very important. On not such busy days, don't let all your staff work on one day, for instance. So control your payroll. Okay, so delivering on the service promise. Remember that you are not just promising to deliver a service to the customer. You are delivering a promise or delivering a service promise to the owners as well as to the employees. So on page 18, we have the keys to deliver good service. So basically it is how to deliver good service. So the first one is don't forget who you are. Remember that you are probably the most important person here. You as a staff member. Without you, this won't be possible. You are the person that has to provide the service to the guest. So remember that you are the pure existence of this business. Without you, there will be no business. Secondly, encourage every employee to act as a manager. Every staff member has to be empowered. You cannot run to a manager to solve a problem all the time. You sometimes also have to solve a problem as if you were the manager. Then handle moments of truth correctly. What is a moment of truth? A moment of truth is every interaction that the guests have with a hotel. It's not necessarily an interaction with a person. It could be, it's physically everything with the hotel. A plate of food, the bath, shower, everything. So it has to be a positive moment. What is the opposite of a moment of truth? A moment of misery. So we have to make sure that it is a positive moment. Hire good people and keep them happy. This is very, very important. You have to go through the correct screening process when you hire people. Get in CVs. Suss out the CVs that don't fit the profile. You need to find the right people with the right skills, with the right experience. Call them for interviews. Okay, you cannot go on how people look or if you like them. You need to find the right person for the right job. And if you find that person, you need to keep them happy. You can't have a high turnover. You need to keep that person, train them, and make them work for you for a long time, because that is an investment. And you don't just keep them happy with money. You keep them happy with rewards, with benefits, by saying thank you. Without you, this would not be possible. So that's how you keep your staff happy. And then lastly, to respond in a timely manner. If you tell a guest, I will get back to you, get back to them. Remember that time is very important, and time makes everything successful. So time is a very important aspect in our business. Okay, so I did refer to Disney, and Disney is a very important aspect with regards to service. So on page 21, Disney lives by 4 basic priorities, namely safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. So on that page, you will see they refer to quite a couple of examples on how they actually practice these 4 priorities. So you can actually go through that, but I'll give you a couple of examples. Walt Disney was he was a man that believed that, service really makes the difference, and that this is what makes the movies so successful, what makes the Disney World so successful, and everything, why he is so legendary. So with regards to safety, we know that there's many rides and things like that at Disney World. So safety is a very big priority for them. So one example, what they do is when people are on the haunted ride, for instance, everybody is ready to go and there's an elderly couple that wants to get on the ride, they stop the ride and they help the elderly couple to get on the ride. So to not inconvenience the rest of the people on the ride, they play a recording saying like the goblins and the witches are taking over the ride. So please be patient while we fight off the goblins and so on. So they make sure then that the elderly couple are actually getting on the train ride safely. Then with regards to courtesy, you will never find that any one of the, oh, by the way, they never refer to any of the staff working at Disney World as a staff member. They refer to them as cast members because they're obviously always on show. So with regards to courtesy, let's say somebody is lost or they are looking for a ride or looking to go somewhere, they never point with a finger. They call it the Disney show. They show them where they go. They see it as very rude to point the finger or point the finger to go with a direction. That's very courteous. And then in the morning, when everybody arrives at Disney World, everybody is in good spirits, and the kids are in good spirits and excited, and so is the parents. And then in the late afternoon, everybody is tired and everybody just wants to go home. The kids might be crying and irritated, and so it's the parents. So in the morning, the cast members are excited as well and enjoying themselves and, you know, taking part, playing with the kids and so on. So everybody's alive and energetic. But in the late evening, when the kids are difficult and the parents are irritated, the cast members also take it down a notch. So that shows a bit of courtesy. And then the show, I mentioned the cast members, they don't call them staff members. And then with regards to efficiency, there's always video monitors all around showing shows, and you see the, you know, Cinderella hopping around, and, you know, all the characters of all the Disney movies putting on a show all over, because there might be long queues, people standing in queues to go on the different rides, so it can get quite long and hot and so on. So there's always live performances going around. So there's just a couple of examples of how Disney, you know, have the 4 basic priorities, but you can have a look in a book of all the other examples of how they do it. So I hope you enjoyed chapter 1. Please feel free to ask any questions. Have a good day.